What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what's moving it today, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid's down 5.2%, 1161 the high, 1080 for the low, and 7.7 million shares being traded. So at least that's a positive that we're getting a little bit more volume. But a lot of that's coming from algorithmic trading. You can kind of see that from the flow right at the bottom down here. Getting right to it, we did have some data that came out first thing, and that kind of laid the foundation for just a lot of fear and the broader market to kind of pull back. So ADP employment came in at 41,000, forecast at 45. Jolt numbers came in at 7.1 versus forecast of 7.7. So both weren't necessarily the best. ISM services, on the other hand, came in at 54.4, forecast of 52. So that came in phenomenal. As a byproduct of all of this, though, and the kind of inconsistencies, the market now believes there is a 11.6% likelihood of a 25 basis point cut for the upcoming January 28th meeting. So the market's kind of losing more and more hope that we're going to get a cut. So that's not the greatest. In Lucid's case, though, there has been no official news that's kind of causing them to go down as much as they are, rather two kind of unofficial things or indirect, one of which is a analyst rating. So I did bring up the rating that we got yesterday. So we got a $14 hold by Robert Bard, Ben, who has a 44% success rating. But today we did get a $10 sell from Morgan Stanley, Andrew, who has a 56% success rating. So Morgan Stanley's been kind of flip-flopping quite a lot with Lucid. So under Adam Jonas, he was a very long-term bear, always hated Lucid. Up until I'd say the last year, that's where his sentiment started to change to more neutral / bullish. And I think that's because of his kind of ties with a lot of Saudi entities, plus Morgan Stanley wanting to be a market maker out on the Saudi exchange. I think that really did help. But clearly, Andrew doesn't like Lucid whatsoever, so it's a $10 sell. Most likely, there's still going to be about 2 or 3 new ratings that do come out as they will be digesting Lucid's most recent quarterly numbers. In my opinion, the fact that they hit their mark is pretty good, but clearly, analysts might be concerned over maybe lack of deliveries or just macro conditions as well. So this is one attributing factor why Lucid did go down. On a side note, if you ever want all this information, so analyst forecasts, ratings, and all that, take a look at IBKR. Completely free to have all of it. Link in the description below and also the comments. But the second thing that, in my opinion, is causing Lucid all this pain is this right here. So Lucid admits delay of hands-free driving feature promise for 2025. And so I think in general, this could be said for any company out there. Whenever a company promises something by a certain date, if that's not fulfilled, then unfortunately the market kind of hits the stock. So I think in general, this is one thing that has always affected Lucid. Lucid's very rarely been on time with many of their projects, and I can honestly say that with a lot of confidence because I've been covering them since the beginning of time. Yes, they've been improving, definitely, but still they've are very notorious for being delayed. So I think most likely probably the reason why they actually did delay it is because a lot of the issues with the Gravity software, they probably just prioritized that rather than kind of going through with this. So let me know your viewpoint on that in the comments below. Only other thing that kind of came out, which is weird to see it being posted on this website. Normally Lucid's always done PRs about it, but Lucid to switch to US made Panasonic batteries, and that's going to be by mid-2026. Currently, they have a deal with LG Chem, so the fact that they're doing this to kind of hopefully help the bottom line and help costs and margins through avoidance of tariffs, I think this is a pretty positive thing. Let me know your viewpoint on that. So this is kind of a positive. I feel like this isn't a good reason to buy Lucid nor sell, but then again, I could say the same thing about this. It just shows more of a kind of iffy leadership. Aside from that, nothing really crazy new coming out speculative online. Shorts are increasing 42,000 shares, still inches away from a all-time high short interest. So that is currently sitting at 35.7. So we're right now at 35.68. So we're 0.02 away from an all-time high short interest number. DTC 5.65 days, and cost to borrow average is kind of in line with what it has been. So shorts are very confident with Lucid. And I've had a couple comments just saying, like, what's going to get Lucid shorts off of like their back? And the simple answer is profitability. That's a massive natural deterrent for any stock out there. Once a company actually turns profitable, shorts tend to F off. But moral of the story is Lucid needs to get their ass in gear and get profitable as fast as possible. And so, yeah, it's going to be very interesting, their upcoming earnings. That's going to be a crazy roller coaster, especially considering the market's going to be caring so much about their future guidance. Getting right to the options, 1.1 million in calls, 3.7 in puts, so still kind of lower volume. 39% of all the options being done are bearish in nature. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around 11. So not much optimism right now. Bears are somewhat all over the place. You can kind of see some hedging right there, but for the most part, they feel that it's going to be between 10.50 and 11. So given all that, obviously there's a lot more frequency pointing downwards, but there is a little bit more upside. 4 transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. So it looks like 2 buys and 2 sells. So somewhat evenly divided, as I mentioned. A lot of the volume today is coming from algorithmic trading. These are all the transactions occurring so far on the dark pool above $100,000. So nothing really significant in my opinion. A lot of hold numbers, so you can tell that hedge funds are fairly active with Lucid today, but that's pretty much it. Right now with that at 11.05, it is trading right between this R1 and the pivot, so just watch for it to close above 11.03. There's about 15 minutes left in the trading day, so it needs to stay above that 11.03, and hopefully you see some sort of kind of recovery. Aside from that though, quickly popping right over here on the actual chart itself, it's not the greatest. And again, I know I've mentioned this many times. Hopefully you guys see me on this channel as just being more informative, because I like to call out misinformation, both bullish and bearish. So if I see some bearish misinformation, I like to bring it up. Same goes for bulls. And there's a lot of individuals out there saying that we are on the verge of a massive, massive breakout. And honestly, it could be said you do need 2 consecutive days to really signal a trend. So Lucid has shown many times that it wants to break out, just for whatever reason, macro conditions and obviously analyst ratings, Lucid just cannot seem to catch a break whatsoever. So it is a very frustrating stock. Looking at the market position, it looks like even institutions are somewhat losing hope, because you see a lot more willing sellers than buyers. So it looks like they're starting to pull a lot of their orders, which is rather unfortunate. Aside from that one new rating that did come out today, I think now we're just going to be waiting on most likely the rest of them that haven't given ratings. So such as Bank of America, which most likely they'll come in bearish, TD Cowen, CFRA. So a lot of them still have to most likely give ratings sooner rather than later. So let me know your thoughts on Lucid. Are you buying? Are you selling? What are you generally doing with Lucid? And are you as frustrated as I am when it comes down to Lucid? Because I feel Lucid always had a phenomenal product, just they've been flopping. And again, depends on how you consider flopping, I guess, because even this right here, if Mark openly mentioned like why they are delaying it, for instance, then maybe the market would actually accept that, possibly. But so far for transparency, it's been crap. And Nick, not to call him out because he actually seems like a pretty nice guy, roughly 1 month ago, he openly said, hey, we're going to be a lot more transparent. Well, not so much, right? Because why are we hearing from this Claudio guy, who is very bearish on Lucid, mind you, through this EV website? Why are we finding out this information and this information? Why are we not seeing PRs? Why are we not seeing something from Lucid? That is the $1 million question. So let me know your thoughts on Lucid. One final thing. If you are looking for some solid buy signals, pop over to my Patreon. I put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.